Magazine and Kingdom Culture Radio present the 5th annual Drip and Sip, February 18th, 2024 at White Diamonds Bar and Grill, Dallas, Texas. There will be live performances by some of your favorite truth artists, a righteous fashion show, a networking party, and much, much more. Oh, they about to do their big one. Count me in. Hosted by Kinfolk D-Ray and DJ J.O.L. Judah on the ones and twos. Our official media correspondent will be the Truth Be Told Flex podcast featuring Shir Yashub Judah and Ayo Ben Yahoo. A righteous party they're going to be talking about till next year, February 18th, 2024, the 5th annual Drip and Sip. Don't you miss it.
Yep. Don't you miss it. The 5th annual Drip and Sip that is going to be hosted in Dallas, Texas. Sister Delta will be on this week on the Truth Be Told Flex podcast. She has some announcements that she needs to make regarding the Drip and Sip this year. So please don't miss that as well. I would like to give some shout outs first off before I get started to Black Canvas Music LLC, my brother Ayo Ben Yahoo, the great work that you are doing, man, the great leader of your household that you are, the husband, the father, the friend, the brother that you are. Brother, I want to give a great shout out to you, man, and thank you for everything that you have provided to the house of Shir Yashub Judah as well, man. The love and the support that you have been giving us. I want to give a shout out to Sister Delta over at the Light Hebrew Magazine. You are an inspiration to the nation. Those who are not rocking with you, Sister Delta, shame on them. That's pretty much, how I can say that there. And I stand 10 toes deep on that. I want to give a shout out as well to the Truth Be Told Flex podcast family. You guys are great. We would not be if it was not for you guys. We thank you for rocking with us each and every week. You are there. You come. You participate. You add value to the show. We love you, and we're going to continue to do what it is that we do to the R&B hook. If you have been missing out on the R&B hook, you've been missing out on some great interviews. Just last week, we had Hondo Alatunde on. This brother here came and he dropped some jewels. Something about that deep south of Mississippi. Those are some very deep intellectual brothers. We got Jamil, the trunk rattler from Mississippi. He has been on the show several times, and every time he comes, it's truly a blessing. Hondo Alatunde, this is not going to be the last time you're going to be here on the Truth Be Told Flex podcast as well. I want to thank the Light Hebrew Magazine as well for allowing the Truth Be Told Flex podcast to be the official media at the 5th annual Drip and Sip. I pray that we do justice. I pray that we do as the Most High would require of us to do. But with that being said, let's get into the reason that we are here. This is the Truth Be Told Flex Podcast Extra. I am Shir Yashub Judah, and today I want to talk about the art of true worship. Do we really know what true worship is? Do we know what it is? It really is an art. Worship. All of us know how to do it. We know how to worship. The problem is that do we realize that we are worshiping at times when we are worshiping? Do we realize what we are worshiping when we are worshiping it? And this is what makes it an art, because we need to realize what we are worshiping, and we need to realize when we are worshiping, and we need to be able to put these two things together and worship at the right time to the right power. We worship every day. Every day we worship. Think about some of the things that you do when you first get up in the morning. Ritualistic, some of us turn music on the first thing that we do in the morning. According to what music it is that you listen to, that is worship. Get up in the morning, the first thing you listen to morning after morning, you start your day off with R&B, the little Marvin Gaye, Luther Vandross, little Anita. You're worshiping. But the problem is that a lot of the times you don't realize that you are worshiping. And what's even sadder is that you don't even realize what you are worshiping when you wake up every morning and you put that particular music on. Some of us, the first thing we do when we wake up in the morning, we'll roll over and we'll grab our cell phone or our technical device and we'll go straight to social media. Because when we went to bed that night before, we went to bed on social media and we probably put a post up and we went to bed thinking about that post, and we wake up the next morning wondering to ourselves, who done replied to the post that I put last night and what was the thoughts that they had to it. And what we don't realize is that when we wake up and the first thing that we do is we look at our social media, we don't realize that we are worshiping. And even sadder, we don't realize what we are worshiping at that particular time. We worship. We were created to worship. Everything about us is made to worship. We just got off of a high worship energy weekend, and it was being led all the way up to us, all the way from last July, from last summer. We was led all the way up to that particular night, which was February the 11th. February the 11th, we was led all the way up to February the 11th, all the way from last July, and they're going to do it again. We're about to go into another worship season this summer, starting with preseason, going into the regular season, going into the playoffs, all the way up into what we called last night the Super Bowl. The whole world was worshiping last night. Many of us who are in the truth, we partook in that worship. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you was wrong. I'm not saying that what you did was evil. I'm not saying that the Most High is just frowning down on you. But what you don't understand is that you were worshiping when you hosted your Super Bowl party, when you bought all of those wings for your house. You had all of those people over and you had your Kansas City gear on or your San Francisco 49er gear on. You were ushering in spirits of the Super Bowl. You were worshiping. You did not realize that you were worshiping, and neither did you realize what you were worshiping. It is an art to know what you are worshiping and when you are worshiping. It is an art. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. Do we know how to worship? Do we know how to worship the Father, Abba? believe that many of us forget that Abba is a king. That's right. He's a king. You show me or tell of me any king that does not want to be worshiped. You want to get on the good side of a king, you better learn how to worship that king. We spend so much time worshiping everything and everybody else and even ourselves that we forget that we need to spend time in worship with the Abba and just praise him for who he is. Thank you, Abba. My eyes just opened up and I hear the chirping of the birds and I can see the light of the sun as it's gazing through my window. Or I can hear the raindrops as they're falling on the window early in the morning. Or I can smell the dew of the morning breeze as it's coming through my window. Instead of putting on that Anita Baker or that Luther Vandross, instead of putting that on, or instead of picking up my technical device, I can say, thank you, Abba, for allowing me to see another day. See, that's worship. You know what the birds are doing early in the morning when you hear them chirping? They're worshiping. That's what they're doing. The sound of the insects at night, the locusts in the eve of the day as the sun is going down. You know what they're doing? It may be annoying to you, but they are worshiping. That's what they're doing. We'll find time to worship everything and everybody, including ourselves. But when it comes time to worship Abba Father, we have a problem with that. We'll start looking at our watch. We'll start daydreaming about other things that we could be doing with our time. We'll start thinking about things that we should have done that we didn't get done, or things that we need to get done, instead of just locking in and giving thanks and praise and worshiping the Father. The whole world is geared on keeping you from worshiping the Father. You locked in. You work the better part of the day, the greatest part of the day. I want this to be understood. When I say the better part of the day, I'm not talking about the hours. I'm talking about the best part of the day. We're locked in. We work the best part of the day. And by the time our shifts are over with, we are so mentally drained that the only thing that we want to do is just come home and just lay it down, throw our feet up, relax. How many of us wake up early in the morning and just meet the Father before the rhetoric of the day starts, while everybody in the house is asleep? It's just you and the Father. You, the Father, and the Ruach, the Mother, and the Father, and you, and she's talking to you, and the Father, he is there in his presence, and he is enjoying you because you are enjoying him. See, this is worship. And as you go out into that day, you can go out into that day with a sense of confidence and understanding. Why? Because you woke up that day and the first thing that you did was you worshiped with the Father and you knew whom you was worshiping with. It makes a difference. It makes a difference. We get learning precepts confused with worship. See, we know how to find precepts. Hebrew Israelites, we precept kings, precepts upon precepts, line upon lines. Give me a precept. But that's not worship. Man, you better learn how to worship. You better learn how to stretch out before Abba. You better learn how to thank him for being who he is. This is worship. This is what he want to hear from us. 2 Kings 7:14 says that if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and will heal their land. Our land needs healing, people. Did you not know that Jerusalem is missing us? We may have forgotten Jerusalem, but Jerusalem have not forgotten us. She is mourning for us. You better go read to Ezra and understand that she had a hard time even kicking us out, but she had to because we were so disobedient. We better learn how to worship so that our land can be healed and we can return back to the land that the Most High promised to his friend Abraham. He said, look, your seed, I promise that I'm going to return them back to the land. Because they ain't going to act right. I'm going to have to kick them out. I'm going to have to scatter them across the four corners of the earth. I'm going to have to put them up under oppressors. I'm going to send them strong delusions like false religions that they're going to get entangled in. But my sheep is going to hear my voice. They're going to come out of all of that oppression. They're going to remember who they are. They're going to seek my name. They're going to seek my face. And then will I hear from heaven, my people, not other nations. Because we go to learn how to worship in a strange land, people. Come on now. Y'all gotta hear me. Y'all gotta hear me. See, I'm feeling good this morning. Only those who are the closest to me know that for the last week I've been sick. Now, when I say sick, I'm not talking about no cancer or anything like that. No diagnosis that the doctor said is going to take me up out of here. It's been like a real rough flu, man. But I was so sick for so long that I actually thought that was going to be the norm. I woke up this morning feeling good. And this is where this thought of worship come from, because the first thing when I opened up my eyes, I was like, thank you, Abba. Why? Because I got strength that I have not had in a long time. And a thought came to mind, the art of true worship. See, we got to understand that there's a glory in tribulation as well. When we go through stuff, instead of crying about it, you better learn how to worship. You better learn how to worship. One of my favorite verses in all the Bible, Romans 8:28. What does it say? For we know that all things work together for the good of those that love the Most High. Yeshaya, Hamashiach. See, all things ain't gonna work together for the good for everybody, but to those who love him. And the test has been proven. It has been shown what the test is, people. If you love him, you keeping his commandments. Commandment keepers, all things work together for the good when you love him. Commandment keepers, learn how to worship. We'll read a little bit out of this John chapter 4. It says, when therefore the master knew how the Pharisees had heard that Yeshua had baptized more disciples than John, though Yeshua himself baptized not but his disciples, he left Judea and departed again into Galilee. And he must need go through Samaria. Samaria is the northern kingdom, people. Our 9 brothers from the 9 tribes, they had already been taken away. Judah, Benjamin, and Levite was only left. We was down in the south. So Samaria was a whole nother beast. It was a whole nother animal. And to get a clear understanding of Samaria, you would have to go back to 2 Kings, chapter 16, chapter 17, and chapter 18. And if you have not read those chapters, I would suggest that you read it. This way you could get a full understanding of what was going on in Samaria, okay? You would understand more of this woman whom Yahshua was talking to in John chapter 4. If you would read 2 Kings 16, 17, and 18, it'll give you a clearer understanding of the demographics of how Samaria was made up. We're talking about true worship. Knowing when to worship and knowing whom you are worshiping. Knowing what you are worshiping. We worship all the time, but remember I told you when we worship, a lot of the times we don't realize that we are worshiping. We don't realize when we are worshiping, and very seldom do we realize what or who we are worshiping. Yasha, he had need to go through Samaria. Verse 5, then cometh he to the city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now, Jacob's well was there. Yasha, therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. There cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Yasha said unto her, give me to drink. For his disciples was going away into the city to buy meat. Then said the woman of Samaria unto him, how is it that thou, being a Jew, we are going to substitute the word Jew with Hebrew, okay? We're not going to use Jew here. I want us to be specific. We're going to use Hebrew. How is it that thou, being a Hebrew, askest drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Hebrews have no dealings with the Samaritans. Yasha answered and said unto her, if thou knowest the gift of Elohim, and who it is that said to thee, give me to drink, thou wouldest have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. The woman said unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence then hast thou that living water? Art thou greater? Listen to what this woman of Samaria said. This is why it's important to go to 2 Kings 16, 17, and 18 to understand why this Samaritan woman said what she said in verse 12. Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which giveth us the well and drink thereof himself and his children and his cattle? She was confused. She worshiped. She was confused about her worship. She was confused about even who her father was. There's a reason. The answer is in 2 Kings 16, 17, and 18. She really believed what she said. Okay? I'm not going to get all off into this here, but she really believed what she said here. And it's important that you go and read 2 Kings 16, 17, and 18 to get a full understanding of the demographics of what's going on in Samaria. Now listen to what Yasha said in 13. Whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again, talking about the water out of the well. But whosoever drinketh of the water that I should give him shall never thirst, but the water that I should give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. The woman said it to her, Sir, give me this water that I may thirst not, neither come hither to draw. Yasha said unto her, Go call thy husband and come hither. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Yasha said unto her, Thou hast well said, I have no husband, for thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou hast is not thy husband, and that thou sayest truly. The woman said unto her, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. Our fathers worship in this mountain. Watch this. Our fathers worship in this mountain, and ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. Yasha said it to her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet in Jerusalem worship the Father. Ye worship ye know not what. Did I not tell you that we worship all the time, but we don't be knowing what we worship? That we worship all the time, but we don't even be knowing that we are worshiping? We worship all the time, but we don't even be knowing who we are worshiping. The Messiah just told a woman, you worship, ye know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Hebrews. But the hour cometh, and now is, when true worshipers shall worship the Father in Ruach and in truth. For the Father seeketh such worship him. Elohim is a Ruach, and they that worship him must worship him in Ruach and in truth. The bitter part of our lives, we have allowed Gentiles to teach this word to us and to show us and to tell us who we need to worship. We need to worship Jesus. Jesus, the Son of God. And turn right around and tell you that Jesus and God is the same person. For the fire Elijah brought Adam. We've been told that we are Gentiles. and that the Father has turned his back on the nation of Israel, and that we are Christians, and we are saved by the blood of Jesus, and we are no longer under the law, and that we are under grace, and we can do and live how we want to live. This is whom we have been told to worship. We worship, but we know not what we worship. But in this hour of the last days that Daniel talked about, that knowledge shall increase. In the hour of Ezekiel chapter 37, when sinews and muscle and flesh is being attached to dry bones, and bones are beginning to stand up, and we'll begin to recognize who we are in our land of captivity. We are beginning to recognize that we are Jacob. We realize that we've been worshiping wrong. We can tell the Christian that you know not what you worship, the same as we could tell the Muslim that you know not what you worship, because salvation is of the Hebrews, and we know what we worship. It's an awesome feeling to know who I am and who I am worshiping and why I am worshiping him and when I am worshiping him, and I'm giving him praise, and I know that he is receiving it. Why? Because the blessings fall down on us, people. He created a whole nation to worship him. This Gentile lady of Samaria had been taught her whole life that Jacob was her father, not realizing that she was an implant from Babylon, from Hutath, or from Ava, or from Hamath, or from Sepharvaim, one of those nations. She was an implant from years ago that was taught our customs, but she was not taught to worship the true and living God. Why? Because while they was there, they was doing our customs, but they were still worshiping their strange gods. We don't put away these idols. Jesus is an idol. I said it. I'm going to say it again in case you did not understand what I said. Jesus is an idol. If you worshiping Jesus, you worshiping an idol. I never forget when I was in the Adventist church. There was a lady that the Adventists hold during their equal with the word of the Most High. Her name is Ellen G. White. She authored this book that was called The Steps to Christ, right? There was this one book that was called The Steps to Christ. It got a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus on it. This was issued out to the white Seventh-day Adventists. Then they got the same book with the same exact words in it, with a woolly-haired, brown-skinned, dark-eyed Jesus on it. This is what they handed out to the black Seventh-day Adventist church. Now, when I was in the church, I never paid any attention to that. I was like, oh, cool. Show these strong delusions, how they work on you. I was like, cool. We got a black Jesus on our steps to Christ. This is what I'm talking about. Not realizing that if Jesus is black on this book, how can he be white on this book? If he's white on this book, how can he be black on this book? You know how? You can make Jesus any color you want, because Jesus is an idol. The Jesus of Christianity is not the same as the Messiah. They came and gave it up for the nation of Israel. The Jesus of Christianity paid it all. The Jesus of Christianity came and did away with all the laws. And this is why Christians can eat pork and they can worship on the first day of the week and they can do whatever it is that they want to do and they can pray their sins away because Jesus is an idol. But say the Messiah, he don't rock like that. See, we know who we worshiping. We know who we worship. And I give all praises to my father, Abba. I call him Ahia. To my brothers that call him Yahuwah, I love you too. Because you know who you worshiping. Give all praises to my big brother Yeshaya HaMashiach. I call him Yeshaya, but to my brothers that call him Yahweh Shai, I love you too because you know who you worshiping. See, we know in part right now, but we know enough to know what and who we are worshiping. Let us not forget the art of worship. Let us not forget to give him praise. We worship every day, but let's recognize when we are worshiping and let's recognize whom we are worshiping. I felt good this morning. All praises to Abba for giving me back my strength. So yeah, Yeshua, Judah, we're going to look forward to seeing you guys this Wednesday. Don't forget to join us so that you can get those messages for the Drip and Sip as well. Ayo Ben Yahoo, can't wait to see you this weekend, brother. Sister Delta, it's going to go down. Don't you worry, sister. Keep your head up. Love you. And I just wanted to drop that message in on the nation. The art of worship. All praises to Abba Father. Amen.